Hi, I'm Katie Crane, and this is the Pilates Lounge. Welcome to Season 4, my friends, of the Pilates Lounge Podcast. This is a space for movement lovers, Pilates educators, and Pilates professionals who want to think a little bit deeper about the work we do. My name's Katie Crane. I've been teaching Pilates for over 20 years, and along the way, I've worn many hats. Studio owner, teacher trainer, mentor, and lifelong student of the work we do. I'm also a surfer, an adventurer, a mum, a busy wife, and someone who believes that movement is by far more than exercise. On this podcast, we talk about Pilates as a practice, not just what we do on the mat or on the equipment, but how Pilates shapes the way we move, teach, lead, and live our lives. We explore anatomy, health, business, culture, and the evolving identity of Pilates in the modern world. This is a place for honest conversations, lived experience, and perspectives that respect both the lineage of Pilates and the people practicing it today. So thank you so much for being here. Let's dive into the episode. Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining. My name's Katie Crane. I'm the Pilates professional. Welcome to this week's episode of the Pilates Lounge Podcast. I thought that I would touch on a topic today that I see popping up every now and then, and I find it a really fascinating conversation. And I'm the type of person who figures, let's not complain about things. Let's actually have conversations about things so that we can serve our people better and so that we can serve people in general better, not just our people. So this is all about the patriarchy of Pilates, or the perceived patriarchy of Pilates. And what I mean by that is I think when I look at social media plays a huge role in this perceived issue. Whether or not this issue actually exists, I don't know for sure, but I think that it's something that, of course, we should be aware of and that we should care about for sure. But caring about something is not feeling guilty for it. I don't think that anybody should ever feel guilty about the way things are if they have not actively done something to make things the way that they are. So, and I know that even that is going to trigger some people, and that's okay. I'm not here to please everybody. I'm just here to have open conversations about things that I observe. So apparently there was an article in the Washington Post which was written by Yasmin Reed, and she said that in a room of Pilates studio, like in a Pilates studio, has a very narrow demographic. I was like, well, that's interesting. And that demographic is overwhelmingly white, often thin, and usually conforming to a very specific wellness aesthetic. So there is a claim about who feels invited to the Pilates world, into a Pilates studio. And I feel like that's a really fascinating topic, but it's also an interesting observation. There's no doubt about it. When I look at Instagram, it looks like Pilates is for really bendy, super athletic, kind of ballerina type looking people. But I want you to remember and realize that that is not all Pilates. It's not necessarily who Pilates is serving in the broader world and in broader communities. Because nobody is saying that Pilates isn't available for anybody. It's up to the Pilates professionals to serve the people that they choose to serve. And yes, you get to choose who you serve. You don't have to serve everybody. You don't have to welcome everybody into your space. As a business owner, you do get to decide. And it's not like you're going to shut people out, but if you are not speaking to a very small portion of society, of the world, of your own community, if you're not speaking very succinctly to them, then you're echoing noise to everybody and nobody is picking up your sound anyway. So I'm going to delve a little bit deeper into this under the guise of Pilates, the Pilates patriarchy, because I've heard this being said many times. I just find it quite interesting that it's a very distinct type of person who complains about these things. And I'm going to let you decide what that type of person looks like, what their ideals are, and what other things they stand for. If somebody is so concerned that Pilates is only for the skinny white woman, then you could probably decide whether or not that would bother you. My point is, you actually get to advertise your Pilates to whoever you want. And that could be like, for example, I'm going to explain who comes to our studio. The people I just did a post the other day uh, because I'm very conscious and I'm very specific about my social media. I only speak to the people who we serve, and my niche has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller over the years. Rather than as my business has grown, my niche has actually shrunk. And that means the people that I serve, the type of people that I advertise that we see coming into the studio is like a 10-year people, like, within about a 10-year age range, from a very specific demographic. I could tell you the suburbs that they live in, the clothing shops that they shop at, the brands that they wear, their favorite restaurant. I could probably tell you their favorite movies, what cinema they would go to if they went to the movie, where they would be traveling, what type of job they have, what their lifestyle looks like. I could tell you, like, I could point that person out on the street. And in our studio, it certainly is not the skinny white woman who comes to us. Who it is a slightly overweight woman who is around about 50 years old. She does not want to wear activewear. She comes in a baggy t-shirt because either she doesn't like activewear or the activewear that she had in the cupboard, which is years old, doesn't fit her anymore. So she wants to wear a baggy t-shirt that often belongs to her son or her husband. And she wears a pair of leggings that she really doesn't like wearing just so that she can move well. She has to buy a pair of Pilates socks when she arrives because she never even knew that Pilates socks were a thing. And she does not look in the mirror when she's working out. In fact, she would rather be looking at a wall with pictures on it than looking at herself in the mirror. So we intentionally do not put many mirrors around the studio. So no, we don't serve the skinny white woman. I know that it is a thing in Pilates social media, but it doesn't mean that it's a real thing in real life. So my whole point is that maybe there was a Pilates patriarchy. Maybe there still is a Pilates patriarchy in small pockets, but it's not the Pilates industry's fault. It's the responsibility of the Pilates studio owner and is your responsibility as an instructor or an educator to speak to the people that you want to serve. And let me paint this picture even clearer for you. So, if I'm serving a woman between 50 and 60 years old, she comes in, she doesn't own a matching set of Lululemon. She doesn't own a matching set of Lorna Jane. She does not come in with her hair in this perfect ponytail, wearing makeup with fake eyelashes. And she certainly doesn't come in with the latest trainers on her feet either. She comes in normally actually dressed in her work clothing, and she needs to get changed when she arrives. And she's in really comfortable clothing that doesn't match. Now, with all of that in mind, the language that I use in all of our marketing is speaking to that person. So that means that you will never see in our social media perfect bodies doing perfect exercise on perfect looking equipment. What you do see is us speaking or interacting with our real clients, is me talking to our community, letting them know who we serve, who we are, and speaking to their fears. Fears like, my body's changing so quickly, and I'm about to go on this holiday to Italy, and I'm actually really nervous to go and sit on the beach with my family because I actually don't know if I can get up from the sand all by myself without being able to hold on to something. Things like, on this holiday, I've been told that there's a lot of steps going up to our accommodation, and I actually do not know if I'm gonna be able to carry my own luggage, and I feel like I'm gonna be a burden on my family. Things like, I've got this really long flight all the way to Italy with 2 or 3 stops, and I'm actually concerned that I'm gonna get there so exhausted because I can never get comfortable in an aeroplane seat because my back is always a little bit sore and I spend the whole time having to walk up and down the aisle. These are the things that I speak to in our social media. So it's totally fine if you do serve the skinny lady in the matching Lorna Jane or Lululemon outfit, and she is perfectly made up and she has her false eyelashes on and her hair is in a perfect ponytail, is totally fine if that's your avatar. But if it's not your avatar and all of your social media looks like that, then you're never actually going to be speaking to or attract the people that you do want to serve. So ultimately, you have to put the word out there of who you speak, and you have to put that word out there with images, with maybe the music that you choose to play in the studio, if you even play music at all. I know studios that don't play music because their main avatar, the people that they serve a lot of, are people who are very sensitive to sounds and to music and stuff. So they choose not to play music. They choose just to have silence and conversation. But then we all know of the studios that are playing pumping music or have a DJ, and every exercise is played is taught to the beat of the music, and actually they spend just as much time choosing the music as what they do creating the repertoire. They're very different people that are coming to those studios. So is there a Pilates patriarchy, or are people just scrolling through things and looking at things that are really appeasing to the eye? Let's not discount the fact that watching perfect bodies perform perfect exercises on beautiful equipment is eye candy. It feels good for me to scroll through that. And if I keep looking at those things, then the algorithm is going to continue to push those things to me. It doesn't mean that Pilates isn't being served to other people. It just means that you're not looking at it on your screen. It just means that that's not in your algorithm. So maybe the issue is that people are not looking for the communities where they feel that they would belong, because I know for a fact that we simply do not get the women in our studio with the perfect ponytail, the fake eyelashes, and the matching outfit. Actually don't come to us. I know exactly what studio they come to, and that studio is very good at marketing to that exact person. Her marketing is actually very different to mine. Everything that she puts together is very carefully curated. It looks perfect. It's very aesthetically pleasing. I don't even put together social media that is aesthetically pleasing because that's not how my people are feeling. And that's why I actually get on the screen and do a lot of talking, or I talk to our current clients. I post things of me being with our current clients. I keep it really fun and lighthearted and very real. But the studio that does attract the people who are all made up and want that perfection kind of feeling, then they go to her because that's exactly how she is speaking on social media. And when I think about it, you know, let's look at cars for a minute. So imagine that you're walking down the street and there's a street full of car yards. There's a car yard with the Porsche, full of Porsches. There's a car yard full of Volkswagens, and there's a car yard full of Hondas. If you don't know what a Honda is, it's a car that we see a lot of in Australia. In those 3 different car yards are gonna be 3 very different people. The people who are looking in the Porsche car yard are definitely not going down to the Honda car yard. I can guarantee they would not even step foot in there. Hey friend, thanks so much for listening. Did you know that you can now find us on YouTube at youtube.com/The Pilates Professional? Now, if this episode resonates with you, please share it with someone else who would benefit from hearing it. Back to the show. The people who are looking in the Honda car yard, sometimes they will go and look in the Porsche car yard, but they're never looking to buy. They're just looking for the sake of looking, and that's okay, which is similar to what you're probably doing on social media, right? So maybe you don't want to go to the patriarchal looking studio, but you can't help but look at them because they're pretty intriguing to look at. It's pretty fascinating, isn't it, to follow them? Doesn't mean that that's all that's out there. So when it comes, so go back to this idea of the cars. Do you think that Porsche would market any of their products to a Honda buyer? Nothing that they say is ever going to connect with the Honda buyer because they're not their people. Porsche is so good at letting buyers know or potential customers know exactly who they are before they even choose that they've got a Porsche. In fact, if you feel like you can't afford a Porsche, that a Porsche is too expensive for you, then you're not their customer. They don't even care that you can't afford a Porsche. Nobody cares. So if somebody is feeling triggered by the skinny white woman Pilates because you're not a skinny white woman, that's not the skinny white woman problem. That's a you problem. And frankly, you need to then go find your Pilates studio. And when you do, please let them know that maybe they were not very good at marketing to you because you didn't even know that they existed, but I can guarantee that they do exist. So the bottom line is it's our job as Pilates professionals to market to our people and to let people know who we serve. And you cannot serve everybody. And I know that this is a very, very difficult concept to grasp when you're trying desperately to build a following, to run a business, to grow a business, to stay open, let alone thrive. When you're first starting out, even when you've been in business for 20 odd years, it can be very, what's the word? Confronting, even considering that you're going to say no to people. But I can tell you now, as somebody who has had a studio open for 21 years this year, I used to say that Pilates was for everybody. I used to say that our Pilates at my studio was for everybody. And you know what? We did have everybody there. We had teenagers, pregnant women, young mums, business people, men, sports people, geriatrics, disabled people, people who wanted to do Pilates for sport, people who wanted to do Pilates for rehabilitation. We were serving everybody. But guess what? I stopped growing. Yeah, that's right. So now that I have niched down, and the more I niche down, the better my services become because I can pinpoint so well who we serve that we have become the experts at serving that exact person. And the more I've niched down, the more I've figured out exactly who we want to serve and who we're good at serving. We've gotten rid of all the fluff, all the fraff, all the fluff. And we very rarely see pregnancy, young mums. We see a few men, but only because their wives bring them. We literally do serve the woman, 50 to 60 years old. As you can imagine, she has some pain points. She has some injuries. She doesn't feel so good about her body anymore. She feels like she's having to learn her body again after denying herself physical activity for way too long. She's concerned about ending up with dementia or Alzheimer's that her parents have got. She wants to be able to spend time with her grandchildren, but she's worried that she's not going to be able to really enjoy it because she's in pain. She's watching her friends have knee replacement, hip replacement, spinal surgery, frozen shoulder, all the things. And we speak to them so clearly that the minute they speak to us, they know that they need to come to us. It's not even a consideration for our ideal client. We have our ideal client bringing us up every single day, asking us when they can get in because the word has spread like wildfire. It's like the difference between if you thought of the best restaurant in the city that you live in, the best restaurant, you know exactly what that restaurant serves if you like food. And then if you think of the buffet restaurant in your city, exactly where is the buffet restaurant? What type of food do they sell? What type of service do they offer? And what type of experience is it? They're two different, very different experiences, is the best restaurant in town and the buffet restaurant in town. So you've got to decide, do you want to be the buffet restaurant or do you want to be the best restaurant? Because when you serve to everybody, then you're the buffet restaurant and you cannot be the best restaurant if you're the buffet restaurant because you're trying to cater to too many people. So the experience that people have when they come into you is kind of probably cheap and cheerful. And you know what? You can do cheap and cheerful. Absolutely, you can. There's a studio where I live, and that's their whole promise is cheap and cheerful. We serve everybody, but actually, they don't serve my client because my client would not go there. We've got the most expensive Pilates studio in the city that I live in. And only the people who understand the value of excellence and the best possible service will come to us. Other people will actually say, "Oh, that's way too expensive. I'd never go there." That's fine. We don't serve those people anyway. But you could go to the cheap and cheerful place. They've crammed in as many reformers as they possibly can into one small space. You cannot even practice your supine arm work and take your arms out to a T. You cannot even do extended frog legs and take your legs wide without hitting the person next to you because the reformers are spaced so closely together to offer that cheap and cheerful service. It's not a bad thing. It's just not our thing. And so it's okay to say, look, we just don't serve you, but somebody else is out there who serves you really, really well. And I understand that, it's not just a financial thing. I understand that it's the aesthetics, it's the way that we promote things, but ultimately, it's okay for a business or for a product to say, this probably isn't for you. And in fact, that is when you as a business will absolutely thrive, right? So, a studio that is clear and consistent about its identity builds more trust than one who tries to look like it welcomes everyone and doesn't deliver in that room. So, I do want you to consider that and don't ever feel the pressure of saying that you serve everybody. I cannot serve a lot of people really well. Like, I can work with an athlete, no problem. I know that I can. It's not my forte. But if you want to come to me and you've got a brain injury or you've got complex condition or you've got a neurological condition, you've got an autoimmune condition, you've got chronic pain, you're going for surgery or you've come out of surgery, I'm your person. I know exactly what it is that you need to move forwards. And I have a very good idea of what it is that you are looking for because I've worked with those people for 20 years. I get athletes every now and then, and sure, I can help you run faster. I can help make sure that you're not injured. I can help make sure that you can perform all of the activities that you want to perform. But you're not going to be in an environment with other athletes because we don't see a lot of you. And quite often, when you create an environment where there's people of the same, then those people in that environment also thrive. Like, can you imagine going actually, I'm gonna give you a real life scenario. My son at the moment has gone down to school camp, and they're in the snowy mountains. So he's gone snowboarding. They've gone snowboarding in the snowy mountains. There's like 60 kids down there, and he is enjoying it, but a little bit disappointed because there's only one kid of the 60 kids who actually can go snowboarding with him, and, well, actually, that other kid is a skier, but there's only one kid who is capable of doing what he's capable of doing, and so he kinda said, "You know what, Mum? It's really great being with my friends, and I'm loving hanging out with everyone and getting to sleep in the dorms and stuff, but I probably wouldn't do this again." And I was like, "Oh, that's a shame. Why wouldn't you do it again?" "Well, 'cause everybody is learning to snowboard. So I'm kind of either having to hang out with them while they're falling over all the time and learning, or I'm off snowboarding by myself, and it's fun, but I don't have anybody to hang out with." Well, that's exactly how people are going to feel in your studio if you just welcome everybody, rather than look at the next person across from them and resonate with that person, see themselves in that person. They're going to be like, "Oh, yeah, well, that person's really nice." But if I'm a 60-year-old retired person and I'm next to a woman who's just had a baby, then I don't have a whole lot to talk about with her. Does that make sense? Like, it's so important that you create an atmosphere of like-minded, of similar interest, similar demographics, just similar people. It's just the way that the world works. And this whole idea that you've got to be able to serve everybody, and if you don't serve everybody, then it goes against the standard of equality is completely absurd. In fact, if you went into any of your favorite eateries, your favorite clothing shops, your favorite holiday destinations, you're going to see very like minded people in those destinations. You actually would never see people who are not similarly interested in the things that you're interested in. Like, don't ever ask me to go on a holiday where there is not a tropical island, a beach, somewhere that I can snorkel, somewhere that I can lay in the sun, and somewhere I can surf. I've seen many, many places in the world, but I've only seen places where you can actually do water sports. So there's a lot of places that I've never been. Like, if somebody was like, "Oh, come to Nepal with me," I'd be like, "Oh, that sounds really interesting, but no thanks. I don't want to go to Nepal because there's no beach there. There's not the things that I love to do." Whereas other people will go to Nepal and think that it's the most amazing place in the world. That's wonderful, that's okay, but we don't all have to be the same. So that whole idea of equity, equality, it doesn't serve anybody, and it will bring your standard down if you're trying to serve everybody. So now that I've figured out exactly who I serve in my studio, and even with my teacher training program, I know exactly who I serve. Even with my ongoing workshops, I know exactly who's coming to those workshops and who I can best serve. So if you come to a workshop with me, you've generally been teaching for 2 to 5 years and you're looking to understand the why behind what it is that you're teaching. You're not coming to me when you've been teaching for 10 years. I don't really have anything for you. But if you've been teaching for 2 to 5 years, then all of my work is a wealth of information for you and it will absolutely blow your mind because you're ready for it and you're looking for that information. Just something to think about. But if I try to serve everybody, I cannot serve everybody really well. And so then it actually lowers the standard of what I can offer. So I do just want you to think about that, right? I guess that's about it for today. But I just thought that was a really interesting topic, a really interesting discussion, and something for you to consider. Now, if you are a new studio owner, or you've been teaching for a couple of years, or you know somebody that this would resonate with, please send it on to them. And I do want to point out that we're all on social media. Well, if you're not on social media and you're an instructor or you're a business owner, you're actually missing out on a heck of a lot of very valuable and free marketing. So social media has great marketing potential. There's no doubt about it. But this is a reminder that we need to be speaking to the people that we want to serve. So if you don't want to serve the people who can perform really fancy exercises and make everything look perfect, then I want you to question whether or not putting that on your social media is really speaking to your potential audience. And if it's not, have a real good think about what it is that you're posting. And you could even follow my studio social media posts. It's at Encore Pilates and Wellness _NT. If you just scroll through that, it's a lot of me. There's no doubt about it. But you will see that we really do speak to our our ideal avatar. We're very careful in the way that we curate that we don't put any young people looking perfect on it because it's simply not the people that we serve. Just food for thought. But honestly, if you need help, please reach out to me. I would love to know what else it is that you specifically need help with so that you can grow your own business and grow your following. So, whether you're a studio owner or whether you're an instructor or a teacher, you do need to formulate a way to get followers and not just followers on Instagram. So if you've just got a lot of followers on Instagram, but people are not paying to see you, then that's monopoly money. So you need to figure out how you can actually gain a following that is your target market and that is you're going to be earning from. So if you need a hand with that, definitely reach out to me. Let me know what it is that you're struggling with and I will help and I could do an episode on it. And also, please share this with somebody who would really benefit from this episode because I know that it took me a long, long time to figure this stuff out. And I only wish that I had the courage to do it earlier because I think that's a big part of what's happening here. If you're trying to speak to everyone, it's actually because you're scared that you're going to miss out, but you won't. You the the more you niche down, the stronger your community will get. Trust me with that. My name's Katie Crane. I'm the Pilates professional. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll be speaking to you next time. Have a great day. And that's a wrap, my friend. Now, before you go, make sure you check out the show notes. That's exactly where you'll find anything we're offering alongside this very episode and the link to subscribe to the Pilates News newsletter. Our subscribers receive free handouts and resources connected to the topics we explore right here. They're specifically created for Pilates professionals, movement educators, and Pilates lovers just like you. So, until the next episode,